Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Pitstick at soulproof.com, and we're talking about suffering. Why is there so much suffering? Well, there's a lot of angles to this one. One is if we have excessive attachments to our body. In other words, right now this is a 57-year-old body. Gray hairs, no hair, lots of changes. If I was attached to how my body was when I was 18, then I would be suffering by creating my own suffering. Same way if we have preconceived expectations about how our lives would turn out. I know when I was 18 years old, I thought I'd marry a gal named Rita, I thought I'd be a medical doctor, I thought I'd practice in my hometown of Springfield, Ohio. None of those happened. So if I weren't flexible, and if I were overly attached to those goals, how I thought things would turn out, then I could be suffering the rest of my life. So you see how we create some of our own suffering. My mom and I were talking a while back, and she was saying, why couldn't she be 35 all of her life? That's when she and my dad were having their best life, social life, and the kids were young and drinking and dancing. I said, Mom, think about it. If you were 35 forever, I'd be 12 years old forever. Who would want to be stuck in puberty forever? What the hell? So we laughed about that, and it helped us realize that we need to be flexible about these things. Another cause of suffering is lack of spiritual practices. In other words, when we have a spiritual foundation, it's like having our house built on granite rock, and so that's why it's wise to take some time for spiritual study, prayer, meditation, fellowship. So then we're prepared when tough times come along. Well, if we don't have that foundation, then we're going to be suffering every little change that comes along. Archaic and erroneous religious teachings are another cause of suffering, especially ones that teach there's only one way to be to God or to heaven, or that there's a fiery eternal hell. Those certainly create a lot of suffering for people who buy into that and believe that, and all the schizoid ramifications of it. Also, those sorts of teachings, I think, justify mistreatment of others. You know, if there's only one way, then all the other people in the world who don't believe that way, well then, kill them, let them starve, who cares, they're going to hell anyway. So these are some of the root causes of suffering. Another is fear that there's not enough, that there's a lack, and that creates then a hoarding or a competitive spirit versus a creative one. Another angle on this is contrast incarnations. We talked about this, that some souls will play a role in our life, kind of like the bad guy, so that will help us become the hero. Now, every good story needs a bad guy or the dastardly villain. And so those souls, again we call contrast incarnations, appear to cause suffering, but they're actually there for our growth. When I was working in hospitals, we had a fellow named Harold, big burly guy, fisherman, hunter, very short-tempered, angry, impatient guy. He had emphysema, and over several years I saw him come back and back with lung infections and worse emphysema, and over the years he became more and more gentle, until finally after 3 years he was like an angel. He was thankful for every little thing, very positive, very loving, and so certainly suffering has a powerful transformation potential. We'll talk more about suffering, why it happens, in the next section. For now, be sure to visit our website, soulproof.com, free email newsletters. Thanks for sharing this with others.